salute plurimo homines. Greetings, humans. I am the all-powerful translatomatic Timoretrimatis. Quake in fear. Welcome to part 11 of my series of videos showing the progress I have made in translating The Secret of Monkey Island into Latin. There is a link to the full playlist in the description. Okay, so where we left off, we were about to enter into the dialogue with the SCUMM bar cook that occurs after Aline has been kidnapped. So first in the English there, Guybrush asks him, "What's wrong, old sot?" Sot being I think an old-fashioned, maybe still in use, but British term for a drunkard. And then so in Latin, a likewise kind of archaic word for a drunkard is potator. So what's wrong outside? I went with quid male vetule potator. So literally, what of bad, little old drunkard? Right, it's a diminutive suffix on vetus, like poor old, little old. Yeah, that's that line. And then, so these are, of course, the options Guybrush can ask him, because he initiates the dialogue, because the cook is just there, sitting at a table crying. Yeah, where are all the pirates? Ubi sunt piratai? Just be a jerk. Get me a drink. Offer me poteone. Bring me a drink. And then the cook's responses. So in response to where have all the pirates gone, he says, "Oh, they're all up looting the governor's mansion." Ierunt omnes ad palatium gubernatricis spoliando. They all went to plunder the governor's mansion. And then, if you ask for a drink, how can you think of drink at a time like this? In tali tempore, como dat viventum, tu intendere potes animo. So in such a time, in a time of this sort, how can you, direct your soul? How are you able to, direct your soul toward drinking? Or how can you mean to drink in a time like this? How can you intend to drink at a moment like this? How can you point your mind towards those kinds of thoughts? And then, the governor is gone. In periculo quidem gubernatrix est. So interesting. I guess I translated that a little bit more, a little more emphatically or whatever. The governor is in danger. Because maybe, or just, gubernatrix abest. I guess, just the governor's gubernatrix abest, the governor's away, it makes it, it sounds more like it's of her own volition. Although I suppose that ambiguity exists in English too. But either way, I made it, I guess, more emphatic. The governor is in danger. Chuck and his spectral crew came and got her. Cum lecioque teos nautae larvales venerunt ad serpiendum. So whom LeChuck and his larval sailors and his, larva, what's another word for that? His ghostly sailors came to kidnap. They put her on the ghost ship and spirited her away. Etandem capta, phantasmatica navis ex oculis evanuit in auro tenue. So, with her having finally been captured, their ghost ship vanished from our eyes into thin air. So, of course, aurum tenue, a famous phrase from Virgil in the Aeneid to describe, the gods disappearing before Aeneas' eyes after talking to him. So literally into thin air. spirited her away. Yeah, I don't know if there was a good way to represent that specific pun in Latin, but I said I'm evoking, I think evoking the gods, evoking something supernatural, I suppose. I don't know why it wasn't more literal. I could have literally said they put her on the ship, but I don't know. But yeah, her having been captured, their ship. And I guess I made, an implication that, they captured her and the ship vanished. The implication being that she's on the ship. I guess I could have made that as explicit as the English is, but I think it's clear. She was so good to me. Era qui di me sempre era benignissima. So she indeed, that woman indeed, was always so kind to me. Always conveniently losing those health board reports. In Isenum, quae curator salutis publicae renuntiabat, ea commode conivere solevat. On those matters, indeed, or on those matters which the curator of public health reported, those matters on which, on those matters which the curator of public health reported, she conveniently was wont to literally close her eyes, right? This is an expression you just turn a blind eye to, right? So in describing corruption or whatever, or describing just inaction, so she would not act on, she'd turn a blind eye to the things reported by the health inspector. And I'm using the same phrase, curator salutis publicae, that I used for, I think it came up in the context of the cannibals, where that's one of the jokes Guybrush can ask, is if the entrance to the monkey head was shut down by the health inspector. I'm using that same phrase that I believe I found on Wikipedia somewhere. Okay, and then, for a small consideration, of course. Yes, it was bribery. Pro quo beneficio scire che te paro modo premium redebam. So for which benefit, obviously, I would render a small price only to her. Premium is the word, a prize, a price. This is the word that was used to describe bribery as well. What will become of my business? Oh, woe is me. Corsum meus evadat quaestus. Oh, why me? To what end now will my livelihood come? Will my business come? Oh, woe is me. Quaestus is a word that often has the connotation of sex work specifically, but it doesn't have to mean that, right? It has just the general meaning of a person's source of livelihood, their source of income, their business. Whereas words like negotio is more about, I don't know, the actual actions of carrying out business in the moment. But if you're talking about I think business in this sense, right? Business as your livelihood. Quaestos is the better word, so that's why I went with that. And then Guybrush asks, what can I do to save her? Quid faciamus ut ea servetur? What might we do so that she is saved? I guess in my translation, Guybrush is looking for help, so I guess I don't know, he's using the plural. What might we do in order that she should be saved? And then, we must get a ship and go after her. Tibi necessis nawam nankiski plagiariosque persequi. So it's necessary for you to procure a ship and pursue the kidnappers. Plagiarios is often used to describe a person stealing a human being. Obviously, this is the source of plagiarism, stealing someone's work. But yeah, that's the word for kidnappers. And I guess for some reason I decided to focus on that rather than say going after her. Because, once again, pursuing her in Latin sounds like it's a different kind of thing than going after her to save her, right? So, he's pursuing the kidnappers to hold that, for reasons of justice or whatever, rather than pursuing her specifically, which almost makes it sound like a romantic pursuit, or like, so anyway, that's why I did it that way. The ghost pirate's lair is on Monkey Island. Everybody knows that. Ut est omnibus notum, letibulum piratarum phantasmaticorum, sitonst in insula fabulosa quae vulgo Monkey Island vocatur. As is known to everyone, the hideout of the ghost pirates is situated on the fabled island, which is, to the common folk in the common tongue, called Monkey Island. So I'm using this long phrase again which I don't know, every once in a while. I don't know, something I like it. It's kind of these long, awkward phrases that are like repetitive and used over and over. The fabled island, which is commonly known as, I don't know. The original game had, the original English had some of that, like with the rubber chicken with the pulley in the middle and stuff. And I don't know, for some reason that's something I've glommed onto, and I'm using phrases like that every once in a while. I don't know why. I just like it. And then, don't ask me how. Don't ask me how everyone knows that. So here, maybe over-translated, but I could have just gotten away with Nescio Cuomo, though, and like context and the rest, but Nescio Cuomo the sciont omnes said certe sciont. So, yeah, I don't know by what means everyone knows this, but they certainly know. And then all you need to do is find a way there. Ege sigitur tu nulla re nisi vectura. So you lack, therefore, no thing except for a means of transportation, is what vectura means. So you lack nothing except for a means of transportation. And then Guybrush can ask, why should I do that? Corhuc eguipse facere debio. Why must I myself do this? And then, where can I get a ship? Ubi navis in maniatur. Where might I find a ship? And then, will you join me? Vintume comitare. Do you want to accompany me? Right, I'm off. Bene, proficiscur. Very well, I'm setting out. Get me a drink. Just jerk again. Offer me potione. And then asking why he himself should do it, the cook says, why for love, my boy. Amoris quidem causa, mi fili. For the cause of love, my son. I actually don't know I think it was, yeah. I think you could refer to someone you're not related to as your son in Latin. It's just sort of a kind of a term of endearment. I believe that was a thing that happened, right? Because famously, right, that's supposedly what Caesar said when he was assassinated by Brutus. Is, of course, the Shakespeare Latin, et tu Brute and mi fili, even you, Brutus, my son. But then the reported Greek quote is, kai su teknon, even you, my child. So I believe, yeah. This is a normal thing. It doesn't necessarily imply that you're literally the son of a person. And then don't deny it. It's written all over your face. Nulle negare quod inscriptum stentotur volto. Do not deny what has been written on your entire face. And then, yeah. So then they have this joke where the text love appears on top of Guybrush's face when he turns to the camera. So here, love and amor. And then, okay, so let's go back to... So in response to where can I find a ship? Why at Spine Stands use shipyard, same as everybody else. And then in Navalebo sane scrutari nomines Stanislai subridentes inter omnes alias naves. My translation of that's somewhat different. I don't know why. But yeah, in the shipyards, it's a plural word in Latin. Navalia for shipyard. In the port, in the docks, obviously of the junk salesman named Smiling, Stanislaus, among all the other ships. But for some reason, it's like same as everybody else. I don't know, since they're emphasizing you can find them there the same as everybody else can find them, I emphasized, where all the other ships are found. I guess it works either way. Maybe I just found it less awkward to translate. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure why I made that particular decision. Oh, it's because I made it. Yeah, I made it. Where might a ship be found? I think so. I don't know. Whatever. It works. It works. I could maybe go back and translate it more literally, but I think this works. I'm not gonna question my choices too much, unless they're like off. So that I find a not very obvious like grammatical mistake. And then tell him I sent you. We're old friends. E qui dum dica me te mispese, non mettere se miki sum pnostuo. So, say to him that I sent you, for we are old friends, us two. And then, or we two, motion, it'd be better English grammar. And then, alas, I cannot go to sea. So when you respond, ask if he wants to come with you. So, imovero nunc in wehi non posso. That makes for awkward religion there. But on the contrary, now I cannot be carried into the deep, onto the depths. I cannot sail out into the sea. An old war injury. Num iam dudum belli tempore sociato sum. For long ago, in a time of war, I was injured. I'm sure you understand. Intelligis nonne? You understand, don't you? Good luck. Bonum fortunam tibi. Good fortune to you. And then, be sure and wear your mittens. Oh, so here's a situation where, he says, be sure to wear your mittens, and the next line is, and your galoshes. So here's a situation where translating mittens and galoshes would result to weird Neo-Latin circumlocutions that I just didn't want to get into. So I tried to just play with the idea, okay, the joke is that he's like a parent sending away his child, right? And giving him this advice to wear his mittens and stuff. So I tried to think of equivalent things. And then I also thought of things that might work as like foreshadowing or references to other parts of the game. So instead of saying, be sure and wear your mittens, I did, Quoraut induas tibi galleon. So take care that you wear your helmet. So, and then of course, the player would just likely recognize as just a reference to earlier in the game when they had to wear the pot as a helmet for helping the Fettuccini brothers test out the cannon. But of course, then that's foreshadowing where you do use that helmet again later. So it's kind of like foreshadowing of that you will use that helmet again. And your galoshes, and here I decided to go etium purga sordes aureum. So also clean the filth of your ears. Clean your ears. Which, of course, foreshadowing for opening up the monkey head with the giant cotton swab, which, of course, I turned into a Zuto Spongio, but you can see whatever video that was. But yeah, so it's more foreshadowing of that, and it also still fits in with the idea of like that's the kind of thing a parent would remind their child to do. Like, make sure you wash your ears. So that's what I did there. And don't forget to write. Ad nos quoque momento scrivere. Also remember to write to us. Bye now. Wale. And then if you ask him to give you a drink when you happen to be holding a cup of grog already, which is probably not a circumstance that comes up very often because like it's melting the mug and you're rapidly trying to get it to transfer from mug to mug to get it to Otis. Well, I guess if you know what you're doing, I guess if you don't know the puzzle, you might have lots of experimentation. So you might try to talk to the cook while you have the mug. But either way, you talk to him, and then he'll say, "You've already got a perfectly good one," if you ask for another drink. "No deyes istak comium tenes." So, not at all deficient is that one there, which you are now holding, which you are already holding. And then otherwise, I'll just say, "Get your own drink." After bleep say tibi potionum. Bring yourself a drink. You bring yourself a drink. And then, what do we have? Ostium, we have a door, ostium. And then, okay. So then we're getting into the voodoo lady. Which might take a while, but I feel like I haven't been talking very long yet, so maybe, yeah, I guess we'll get into it. We'll get into the voodoo lady. I thought maybe this would be its whole own video, but yeah, we'll get into the voodoo lady now. So, yeah, so you see some chickens hanging out, and then Gabber says, "Oh, poor chickens. Oh, miseras galinas. Oh, wretched chickens, wretched hens." And then, yeah, if you try to interact with them, I'd better not. They're probably being saved for a pagan ritual, and I wouldn't want to spoil it. Idas idi relinquere debio, non veri similes de aspro sacro rito pagano reservari, qui obstare nonne. So, I ought to leave those there, for it is likely that they're being saved for a sacred pagan rite, which I wouldn't want to interfere with. And then this becomes a formulaic response for lots of things in the voodoo lady shop. But no thanks, I'd rather not touch any of this creepy voodoo stuff. And then, so, Nil harum formidelosarum rerum bodonensium tangere mane. So I would prefer to touch nothing of this, of these spooky voodoo things. I think if you go back and watch, like, the video I posted, the second video I posted showing the gameplay, it does have the voodoo lady dialogue, and it has earlier versions of some of my translations for these scenes. And in that, I was avoiding using a word for voodoo. I was just using, magica, magicus, magical. I went back and forth about whether I wanted to use a word for voodoo specifically. I just, once again, it's like I don't want to do any more sort of, make the game's portrayal of things any more culturally insensitive than it already is. But I don't know, like, it is, voodoo is what it's described as in the game, and of course it's not a very respectful portrayal of voodoo practices and beliefs, but it is just, it's the element that exists in the game as it is. And then this adjective, ordonensis, I found on Wikipedia, so the Latin Wikipedia page about Vodun, about West African Vodun, used this as an adjective. So that's what I'm using there. Okay, what is on this line? Oh, so chickens, galinas, nothing on that line. Okay, and then when you take the rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle, maybe no one will miss just this one thing. And forsitan hanc unomonem tantum nemo desideret. So perhaps this one thing only no one will miss. And then they surely must be used for a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle, but this is not it. So when you try to use the rubber chicken on something, or use something on it, probably in this circumstance, since this is its object when she's sitting on the table. Nescio pomodo sit utilis galina falsin quamedia quasin proclea fixus sit orbiculus, sed istus non puto rectvese. So I don't know how a rubber chicken in the middle of which, as if in a pulley block, a pulley wheel has been affixed. I don't know how that might be useful, but I do not believe this use to be correct. I do not think this use is correct. And then what do we have here? So chicken, yeah, the object on the screen I think is just chicken, galino, and then poor little thing. I think you're looking at some sort of unrecognizable, like, bunch of bones or something. Poor little thing. Oh, misere. Whatever it was. It says. Oh, so for whatever reason, I decided to make it second person, so he's talking directly to it. So, oh, wretched little thing, whatever you were. And then, no thanks, no, we're not touching any of this creepy voodoo stuff, so it's just that same line again, used over and over. Also, oh yeah, so it was, yeah, bones, yeah, osa. That's what he was saying, was the poor little thing. Okay, and so we have our Indiana Jones reference, so the Holy Grail is sitting there, and then Gerber says, now this is the cup of a carpenter. In the EGA demo of the game, there's an added joke to this when you try to pick up the cup. Gerber says, I'm not Indy, and then he briefly turns into Indiana Jones for a bit, because of course the Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade, the LucasArts adventure game, was kind of being made around the same time, or just before Monkey Island. But pretty much the same team of people working on both, I think. But yes, they had that as a reference in the demo. But I think that kind of thing, Guybrush like physically transforming into Indiana Jones, is a little bit too out there for Monkey Island humor. But anyway, they still have this reference to the line from the movie. Now this is the cup of carpenter. In hoc est populum fabri. So behold, this is the cup of a workman, a carpenter. This is the word, faber is the word used for Jesus' profession in the Vulgate, I believe, which doesn't specifically mean carpenter. But of course, it is. Carpenter is the word that, like, King James Bible or whatever translates faber as. So, that's the word that's part of this tradition. And then yeah, I don't want to touch any of this creepy voodoo stuff, which is what he also says about the Grail too. So that gets lumped in with the creepy voodoo stuff. So take that, Christians. Holy Grail. I don't know if do Christians believe in the Holy Grail. I guess some do. It's an Arthurian legend thing. I don't know what modern Christians believe. But then, inscribed as a chalice, and so kadeke is the word I used. That is, kadix is the word used for once again, it's the word used in the Vulgate for the cup used at the Last Supper. It's described as a kadix. In medieval Latin, like Arthurian Grail lore, it's a different word. The word that the English word Grail comes from. And there's a Latin borrowing of that word. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I went with, the word that is where chalice comes from, and it is the word, I don't know, like it's the Vulgate word used to describe this cup. Probably if the original English text said Grail, I would have used whatever that medieval Latin word was that I don't remember off the top of my head. But something like Grail, because the word Grail comes from it. And then there's a trunk in the room. Like it just says it's probably got a body in it. Very semen est in a corpus in esse. So it's likely that a body is inside it. No thanks for not touching this creepy voodoo stuff. Trunk, yeah, it's described as a trunk, which I went with. Arco, I just want to say box for it. All these boxes and trunks and chests and stuff in the game. I'm just like, which handful of synonyms for these types of things do I use? And then, voodoo love beads. So this is an object you can't interact with, and you can just barely see them in the parser line, because you don't know, love beads were beaded curtains in the 70s. So that's a name for like beaded curtains. From the 70s, they called them love beads. And but you can't interact with anything on the Voodoo Lady's half of the screen. As soon as you cross over and start talking to her, it kind of enters into the dialogue mode. And so you can't interact with the Voodoo Lady herself, or her cauldron, or these love beads. But they do have object names in here. And I believe you actually can interact with them in the demo, but not in like any of the released versions of the game. And you can just barely see the line in the parser line describing these voodoo love beads as the screen is transitioning over. But yeah, since it's not something, I don't know, I did come up with just like a circumlocution just describing what they are. So I just called them Aulae Liniis Lapilorum Facta. So curtains made from lines of little rocks made from lines of beads. So I just described them literally as what they are. I didn't try to calc the phrase voodoo love beads or whatever, because it wouldn't make any sense. And then the fortune teller. So the voodoo lady is also not once called the voodoo lady in the first game. She's only called that in later games. But yeah, in the demo of the game, she's called the fortune teller. That's what it says when you hover over her. Although it's not possible to see this text in the game. I don't know why I even bothered to translate it, but fortune teller, Hariola. And then, let's see. So then there's like this little couch in the voodoo lady's shop. So it looks comfortable in a spooky sort of way. Moli satque donia sad cubando meditor. Pum funebran modum. So it seems to be soft and suitable for lying down, although in a funerary manner, in a matter fit for a funeral. Because if you look at the sprite artwork, like it's like a plush, like cushioned red sofa that looks almost like an open coffin, basically. And then, yeah, sure to use it. Yeah, no thanks. I can never sleep in strange places. In locis alienis abdormire non composo. So I just left off translating the no thanks part here that's used a lot in these I can't do that messages, and sometimes I just leave it off entirely, or I just no, I don't want to, or whatever. But yeah, I can in locis alienis abdormire non composo. So I can never fall asleep in other people's places. Okay, no thanks. We're not touching any creepy voodoo stuff. Okay, and then couch, lecton, and then and then so there's a shelf of voodoo knickknacks is what it's called on the parser line, which I'll see in a moment. But so you look at it and you look to see what's on the shelf, and then Gaber says, "Let's see. There's a jar of bat drippings," and then I guess I decided there needed to be some wordplay here. Scrutamur haec scruta. Let us scrutinize this scruta. So yeah, the word I used for knick-knack was scruta, which was the word for like secondhand things, old things sold secondhand, and it had like connotations of being garbage or junk or whatever. But which is much harsher, a much more negative connotation than knick-knack has in English, but it was kind of the best word that I could really find, for the concept of like touristy stuff, souvenir type of random knickknacks, tchotchkes, and etc. But let's see, there's a jar of bat drippings. Scrutamur haec scruta. Okay, laguncola, excrementi, verspiterionis. So let's scrutinize this stuff. Behold, a little bottle of the excrement of bats. I wasn't trying. You can't see these objects on screen. I wasn't really sticking very closely to the descriptions of what kind of container it was and trying to match them up to, this ancient Roman container looks like what's on the screen or whatever. I was just using names for whatever container sounded good in the line to me. Sensitive jar, little bottle. A box that says assorted scales. Et pixis inscripta verbis squamae variae. So yeah, and a pixus was like a little round jar with a lid. But sometimes translated as box, It's I believe this is what Pandora's box is. Maybe I'm mistaken. I forget exactly what type of vessel. But Pandora's jar, Pandora's whatever it is in the original Greek and in Latin translations. I think this is what it is. But a box that says this word scales. A box inscribed with the words various scales. And then and then a shaker full of monkey flakes. Et selinum furfurum simiarum plenum. So yeah, a salt shaker, or a salt jar. This is a word for whatever the Romans put salt in. A salt jar full of monkey dandruff. We've seen this word furfures for the breakfast cereal earlier, and because literally means like bran flakes or whatever. But then the Romans used it to describe like skin diseases that looked like bran flakes. So any type of flaky skin and dandruff and stuff. So either way, monkey flakes, it works either way, as if it's a cereal or whatever. But yeah, some flakes of monkeys, monkey dandruff or whatever. Oh, and some cat knuckles. Et aliquot tali felini, and several cat knuckle bones. And then cat knuckles. Taline, faline, crudelitate. So, cat knuckle bones. Oh, the cruelty. I have that extra part there because I decided to make a room. I came up with a joke, like a localized joke for the hypothetical Roman audience that I move things around to make lines for. But yeah, so the how barbaric is what it was my crudelitate was my translation for that. The cruelty was my translation for how barbaric. I didn't want to use barbaro. I don't know. I don't think the Romans used like barbaros necessarily to mean cruel, right? It specifically meant like the Germanic tribes and Celtic tribes and stuff. It wasn't, I don't know. So it didn't really have that meaning. The barbaric didn't have the meaning of cruel in classical Latin, I don't believe. Wait a minute. Oh, yes. So on this line where it says how barbaric in the original, yeah, that's where I added my joke. So this is my joke. My joke for Roman audiences. So since they're, I translated the knuckles as like the tali as knuckle bones, right? And the Romans played a dice game, using either dice, pretty much exactly like the kind we still use today, or using animal knuckle bones. It just occurred to me to make a kind of a joke, like a localized joke about this. And I think there's a different version of this joke, a different version of this idea. You've probably seen that other video posted, because I kept coming back to this, trying to refine it and try to make it a better joke, because I just I had this idea, but I wasn't sure how I should execute it. But at least the current version here then said forsitan felice sunt feles non talibus talis jactatis miti non potas canis. So, but perhaps cats are lucky with such knuckle bones having been thrown, with knuckle bones of this kind having been thrown, it's not possible for a dog to be sent. So, in the Roman game of dice, the worst possible throw was like snake eye, getting 2 1s in the dice version, and I forget how the knucklebone version works or whatever. But yeah, a bad throw was called a canis, and a really good throw, like the best throw, was called a buenos. But a bad throw was a canis. Snake eyes or whatever was a canis, or a canicola. A dog or a little dog is what they called it. But yeah, so I thought of this joke, like, oh yeah, so if you're using cat knuckles, then it wouldn't be possible to roll a dog, I don't know. Hopefully this would sound funny to a Roman person. This should be idiomatically correct too. I think it was pulled from like Suetonius or something. a reference to the dice game, and this is basically rolling the die was yakto was the verb used, like hurling the dice, and then the result of the dice throw did use then the passive form of mito. So rolling the dice was hurling them using yakto, and then mitor, some form of mitor to describe the result, what was sent. You throw them, and then the dice is sent a certain way for the throw. But so if you're throwing cat knuckle bones, then you can't roll a dog. Dog being a bad throw. Oh, I'm so funny. I'm sure the ancient Roman person would find this hilarious. Maybe, I don't know, but it occurred to me, so I did it. And of course there was a little bit of wordplay there, right, with, tali, talis meaning, of such a kind, and then sounding like, talos, ankle bone, and yeah. Anyway, no thanks, I'm not touching any of this creepy voodoo stuff. Okay. Voodoo knickknack. So here's the name of the shelf. So I just, Scrota Wodanensia. So voodoo used junk, which I know it's much harsher meaning in the Latin, but, and then there are these baskets that you see, and then, I think I hear slithering inside. Nisi me falon taures alipudintus sibilant accerpit. So, unless my ears fail me, something inside hisses and crawls. So to try to convey the idea of slithering, I added, multiple snake-related words. Obviously, serpens literally is something that, serpits, serpent, crawler crawls. And then if you try to open it, no thanks, something would probably jump out and bite me. Temione quiquidinsit exiliens me mordeat. I fear that whatever might be inside, jumping out would bite me. And then thanks for not touching any creepy voodoo stuff. And then basket, word I used for basket was kaleton. Looking at that illustrated companion to the Greek and Latin lexicon, whatever that book was called, kaletos, it seemed to be as illustrated, seemed to be the closest thing to the baskets that are illustrated in the games. That's why I chose that word for basket. And then, this is another object you can't actually interact with in the game, but so the big cauldron by the voodoo lady is called the Cauldron of Fear. If you try to interact with it, Kyver says, I can't. In the demo, he says, I can't, I'm afeared of it. And so this is on the line I didn't need to translate, but I did anyway. So I cannot, for it terrifies me. And then, it's the Cauldron of Fear. It's, Aenon terroris, the cooking pot of fear. I don't think it's even possible to get this to, even if you're really quick, I don't think you can even get this to pop up on that parser line, so it's not something the player ever sees. And then, some more baskets. I wonder what's in these baskets. Oh, how much I marvel at what might be inside these baskets, which I wonder what might be inside these baskets. But then if you actually try to open them, actually I'm not that curious to find out what's inside. Revera non ton cupido son reperiendi quidinsit uteos seperium. Actually, I'm not so desirous of discovering what might be inside that I would open them, and then probably poisonous snakes. Very similes ongues venenatos intus latere. So it's likely that venomous snakes lie in wait inside. And then we have nothing on that one. Not touching any of this creepy voodoo stuff. Then baskets, there we go. Caletos. Then we have not touching this creepy voodoo stuff. Okay. He's pretty creepy. Oh, okay, so this is, yes, so there is a statue in the Voodoo Lady shop of a skeleton holding the world on his shoulders, like, like statues of Atlas holding the celestial orb on his shoulders. In the original, EGA disc version of the game, when Guybrush looks at the statue, he says he looks like an emaciated Charles Atlas. Charles Atlas he was like a famous bodybuilder in the 1950s. But he sued LucasArts. There's like a cease and desist order, and so later versions of the game removed that reference to him. But I thought, the statue looks like Atlas, like the mythical Atlas, and so in this classical language version of the game, I feel like I can get away with referencing the god Atlas. So I kind of put that joke back, but instead of referring to Charles Atlas, I just do Atlas. So Atlas makie tabuisi videator. So Atlas seems to have wasted away in emaciation, or whatever. Yeah, he seems to have wasted away to extreme thinness. Yeah, you get away with that. I also, if you look at that other earlier video where I had stuff from the Voodoo Lady shop, I think I had a much longer version of this where I tried to make a joke about like the legal trouble, where it's like, Atlas is wasting away because he wasn't strong enough to hold the burden of calling himself Charles. And I had some sort of longer version of the joke rendered in Latin that I was probably going too far. So I just sort of restored the original idea. Like, it's a skeleton holding up the sky, so it looks like a skeletal Atlas. That is exactly what it looks like. But I don't have to I'm not mentioning Charles Atlas specifically, just the mythical Atlas. So I think that's fine. And then statue, statuon, just went with that. I remember, simulacrum, idolon, lots of words for statues, but I'm just going with statuon here. And then, gee, I wonder what's in this basket. Oh, Pantopoli Miller with his and qualities in it. It's just like what we had before. Actually, I'm not that curious. So, poisonous snakes. Okay, so that's all exactly the same. And then, I'm not touching any of this creepy voodoo stuff. Okay, so there's baskets, calitos, poor chickens. The more chickens you're looking at. Oh, miseras galinas. Oh, miserable chickens. And then, if you try to pick up these ones, Guybrush says, no thanks, haven't you ever heard of salmonella? No lo quidem, non è salmonella genus bacteriorum debinotus. So indeed, I don't want to. Isn't the salmonella genus of bacteria known to you? So, I don't know, using this, taxonomic scientific Latin, I have like a few jokes here and there where, just playing around with the scientific taxonomic names, because it just ends up being the best way to, because in English, we're referring to, we're using its genus name to describe the type of bacteria. There usually aren't common names for types of bacteria. I guess maybe there might be for some, but anyway, so yeah, I just, it is the name of the genus, so that's how I decided to describe it. And then chickens, galinas. And then here we are talking to the Voodoo Lady herself. Now, okay, there's a lot of dialogue with the Voodoo Lady. There's a part of me that still wonders if that should be its own video. So maybe this might be a short one, but I might stop this video here. So this is another odds and ends video. So talking to the cook and then looking at stuff in the Voodoo Lady shop. But then next time we'll get to all of the dialogue with the Voodoo Lady. So I think I will stop this one here. So yes, thank you for watching, humans. Malete. See, the robot voice. I kept that up the whole way through. But yeah, well, the sound changer will kind of help with that. Yeah. But I think